Presently, as I write this, I am secluded within my small apartment. An essence of light that once showed its brave face to me has been removed. In my efforts to keep the beast out, I have had to sacrifice some of my clothing. It's not that bad, though. My suit jacket looks quite nice pinned up against the wall, covering the small window that I had once enjoyed viewing the city streets of. I'm not sure if I like the way the sleeves dangle, to be completely honest. Perhaps I'll cut them off. Cut them as I did my favorite blue button-down, which now lay at the bottom of my door, covering the small crack that would possibly let it in. Broken glass was strewn across the room, the final remnant of every light bulb that I could find. I've shattered each one with a shoe, careful not to injure myself. Trust me, for I am not a stupid man. I was sure to cover each bulb to muffle the sounding pop, worrying that even the slightest noise would bring it back. At last, each source of light I could possibly think of was either destroyed or thoroughly covered. All that's left is myself and this pen and paper. I could have written this using my computer, but although artificial, it would grant the beast a possible route in my little dark fortress. So, it lays on street, several stories below the floor of my apartment, and most likely in shattered pieces. I swear on the grave of my mother, my father, and my brother that it will not get me. Well, perhaps now you're wondering, what is this beast? This it you speak of? Well, what could possibly drive a man to go to such lengths to take such precautions? Well, my friend, I will try to make you understand. Let me be clear, however, I am not crazy. I am not insane. I have never been diagnosed as such, and I never intend to be so. This haunting, dark, soul-bearing fear of mine is a result of my own foolishness. My brother had passed away recently after receiving critical wounds from an automobile accident. He had swerved from the road after a night at the bar and impacted with a lamppost. He was found by paramedics with his neck nearly severed from his body, with a portion of his spine sticking through the skin on the back of his neck. His head lay limp, with his forehead almost touching his chest. The paramedics pronounced him dead at the scene, and I was notified of his passing shortly thereafter. My brother was the only family I had left. The only one who shared my flesh and blood. Without him, what am I? A mere bag of bones which spends its very existence staving off the sweet kiss of death. These questions flowed through my mind for several weeks after his passing, filling my empty void of his presence with the uncertainty of life. They tormented me, occupied my every waking hour, and even those that should be spent fast asleep. Eventually I could take no more of it. I decided instead of succumbing to these demons, I would rather take my own life. It seemed simple, really. I had a near fully stocked medicine cabinet above my bathroom sink. Perhaps a couple bottles would be enough. And if not, I would always have more. The sound of plastic hitting the floor rang through my ears, stirring areas of my brain I did not know could be stirred. Each bottle sounded louder and louder, increasing until I had a splintering headache due to the gong-like sound that I was hearing. My motions were out of my control. I began to try desperately to stop, but my arms were moving on their own accord. Bottle after bottle, pill after pill, without an end in sight. I started to choke. Each pill became harder and harder to swallow, but I forced each one down, thinking about my poor brother. The tragedy. What would I do to feel his embrace again? Eventually, I somehow pushed down the final pill. The last empty bottle hit the ground, and this time I heard nothing. I could not hear anything, for that matter, except the sound of my pulse slowly abating into almost nothing. I lay my head down upon my pillow one last time, taking in my final breath. On the edge of my vision, I could see my brother welcoming me with open arms. Behind him was a light, shining, and in its full splendor, I rose from where I lay, leaving the physical world behind and walking toward him. Something was wrong, however. When I looked at his face, it was not joyful as I expected. Rather, it was an expression almost of pain. His eyes were hollow, filled with nothing but sadness. As I observed him, his head slowly tilted down, revealing a severed spinal cord protruding from his neck. I looked at him with horror, watching as he slowly crumpled to the floor. The light behind him began to shimmer, pulsating until it appeared as though something was coming out of it. Before me stood a beast made of light, with fangs as white as porcelain. Its hollow eyes stared at me with an anger that knows no bounds. Before I could comprehend the unholy thing that stood before me, it pounced, ripping into my chest and gnawing at my neck. My screams were heard by none but the beast, who ignored them and continued to tear me limb from limb. I eventually closed my eyes, accepting this eternal damnation of my soul, brought by what only the devil could create. When I opened my eyes again, however, I found that I was laying in my bed. The pill bottle lay scattered on the floor, reminding me of the previous night. I remembered the beast tearing me to pieces, and I began to panic. This is when I decided that I would barricade myself in this small apartment and do everything that I could to keep that wretched beast out. Even as I write this, I feel as though I hadn't done enough. In the back of my mind, I hold this sense of unease that tells me that the beast will not be that easily deterred. I look over to my bedside table, and a sudden realization dawned on me as that chill reached me to my core. I had received a text message on my phone, and the screen glowed softly. In the darkness,